This is an example of a very a personal relationship that I had with a wonderful photographer named Arnold Newman. Arnold Newman was called an environmental photographer. He did things with Stravinsky, with Picasso, and in his early days, when he was with Life magazine, went to Germany and photographed Alfred Krupp. Now, Krupp was an industrialist who worked in Nazi Germany and built all of Hitler's tanks and many of his heavy armament. I don't believe he went to Nuremberg, or if he did, he was acquitted. But in the early 50s, Arnold decided he would take this photograph, which the authorities didn't know about. He took it in such a way that Krupp looks like the devil. There he is posed in front of his factory, and this image was at first not published because of the fear of the magazine editors, but after that became world known. It was one image that talked about a man and what he did that was promoting a horrific, helping to promote a horrific war. These examples of images and what they can do to enhance discussion of past problems and perhaps prevent future problems. I'd like to give a short history of my own passionate love organization called Project Exodus, which was founded 4 years ago when I went to Berlin. I unexpectedly went to Berlin. I was in Prague. I had vowed really never to go to Berlin because of a family history of my ancestors in Eastern Europe. But I went there and found wonderful people and happened to be at an art show where I met a man called Manuel Schroeder. Manuel is about 50 years old, handsome, great artist. I loved his work and I bought some of his paintings. That led to many discussions about himself and what he was doing in Berlin at that time. I invited him to the U.S. He'd never been before. He came 5 times. The first time, I hardly knew him, liked his work, decided I would try some of the bourbon he suggested, and we, over many evenings of discussion, I found that he was in the military, in the Air Force actually, but the most interesting thing was his 2 grandparents. One was a Nazi SS officer. The other was a communist. As a young boy, he saw the communist seemed to be a rather vicious guy who believed in a force for promoting his ideas, and it seemed to have a very aggressive and mean personality. The SS officer was kind, loved everybody, was good not only to his family but to his neighbors and the people around him. And Manuel couldn't fathom how these 2 people who were in different roles in the world could have such different personalities. This led us to many more discussions, and eventually my going back to Germany several times, going to several of the concentration killing camps, which were not in Germany, which were outside of Germany, photographing them and putting together Project Exodus. Project Exodus has got many other people have used this name. So our website is www.exodusinfo.org. We'll publish that. It's not Project Exodus. But the groups that we've worked with are children, mostly in Europe, Germany, Latvia, have been wonderful. And here in the U.S., we just had a show 2 weeks ago in Cambridge at Lesley University, which was very well attended. These are the things that are very wonderful for our group, but even better is our new alliance with Boston Global Forum and our new project, which has got far more reach in the world than working with small groups in different countries. Now we can work in all countries much more efficiently with the internet. One very interesting thing that I came upon in my research when I started with Project Exodus was that humans don't naturally want to kill one another. There's been a lot of studies during the World Wars, particularly World War I, where soldiers would fire above the heads of the enemy because the enemy was humanized when they saw them in the trenches smoking and looking at pictures of their kids and their wives. The military had to dehumanize the enemy in order to incite these people to be more of the killer nature. Again, this misunderstanding between peoples, people often say, how could the Germans, with their history of art, with their history of music, possibly do these things to other human beings? We have to go way back in our DNA, and I don't really have the answers to this, but essentially humans are most comfortable when they function in units of family and tribe. And when these families or tribes are threatened by the tribe next door, this is the beginning of trouble. If we could, again, using art and the internet, promote the understanding between countries, such as between Japan and China, with two great cultures, between Vietnam and China, with two great, long cultures in art and humanities. If we could promote that by using something that is easy to understand, because it's a common language. You don't have to speak Japanese, Vietnamese, Chinese to use images, to use art to say things. If we could do this in the Ukraine today, where again we're getting people who are following two nationalist themes, where it always gets dangerous when people start to follow a flag, particularly in the wrong direction. Again, using art, which is a universal language, to enhance these understandings would be a great step in the right direction. So, even more specifically, I am looking forward to going to Nha Trang in the early April with Tuan Nguyen, and they are announcing an art contest which will involve the Spratly Islands, which are very, very close to this wonderful seaside resort. And by announcing a contest then, we can have a specific objective in mind of promoting the understanding between these two countries, China and Vietnam, where the two conflicting groups are very, very close together. This is very exciting to be announced in April. One exciting and interesting part of using art in an global art competition is not the quality of the art. It's the message that the art sends. It's a way of communicating in a language that's universal. And the term soft power is so applicable to this technique. I heard Professor Nye talk about this in relation to the Chinese-Japanese situation, and I think it's analogous in all areas of concern. In the Ukraine today, all of the solving of some of these issues is much better accomplished with soft power, not with hard military power. And art particularly falls into this, again, not so much in how good the art is executed, it's in the message it sends. There's a whole group of artists who are actually called bad artists. They have formed a group, and even though their art doesn't fulfill any of the contents that you would teach at a master's program in art, all of their art has a message. So even bad art, in terms of the quality of the art, still is a great use in relaying a message. In particular, in these issues between China and Japan over these uninhabited islands, and then the issue between Vietnam and China over the islands off of Nha Trang, all of this, if it's could be approached with the concept of soft power in terms of understanding between these peoples. For instance, the problem that's looming over Japan and China in these islands, one great solution was to make the area of the islands a national sea preserve, sort of a museum of the ocean, and thereby satisfy somewhat the saving of face in terms of this possible conflict. Of course, they do sit on very rich petroleum preserves in this area, and so a segment of those islands perhaps could be used to mine resources for both countries. In that way, giving a win-win situation. A win-win situation is much more preferable than to unconditional surrender, which has never worked by one party.